Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I was just thinking, the song which we just sang, the Song of the Free, it's adapted by Subrata. So, from Swami Vivekananda's poem. And what it just said, when I was listening to the words, Swami Atmarupanji offered, do you want to see the book and see the words? I said, no, it's okay. But when I caught the words, I wanted to see the words. and when I saw the words, there's really nothing more to say. This song is what we were talking about. The beautiful earth, sun, the sweet moon and the stars, they are all in space and time and causation, and I am beyond sense and thought. I'm beyond the senses, I'm beyond thought, I am the witness of the universe. This is what we learn. Step 1 of Advaita Vedanta. And then it says that before the sun, the moon, the earth, and the stars are comets free, before even time had its birth, I was, I am, and I will be. Even that is time word, tensed, but still, it points to the eternal. Whatever is in time, whatever comes and goes, whatever has a beginning and an end, is samsara. This is a little bit of advice we get from the non-dualists in the mountains, completely against common sense in the world. Whatever is in samsara, ignore it. Ignore it doesn't mean not attend to it. If you get a parking ticket or you have to pay your taxes or what, attend to it. But it's not important. Don't worry about it. Worldly affairs, success and failure. Success is good and pleasant. Failure is not so good and little unpleasant, but doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You are eternal. These are children of time. They sparkle in your light and disappear. Even very soon, they're gone. So, and then it says, again, the beautiful earth, sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky. Causation's laws make them run. Causation, cause and effect. Karma, Maya. Time, space, causation is Maya. They live in bonds they die. Who? Stars, earth, moon, all of these. They come and go. They're born and they die. They are under the bonds of causation, cause and effect. You are beyond cause and effect. Far, far beyond is Atman, ever free. From dreams awake, from bonds be free. Be not afraid of this mystery. This mystery shines in your light. It borrows existence from you. Just as everything you see in the dream is lit up by your light. And it borrows existence from you. And then it turns around and frightens you. Or tempts you, like the princess of Kashi, do you remember? Yeah. My shadow cannot frighten me. Very beautiful. This universe is your shadow. You experience it, but it's your shadow. Know once for all, it says that I am he, let's make it more gender neutral, I am that. Or literally, I am. Know once for all, I am. I means you. This being, this isness, this I amness, tell me, which class did you have to go to learn to exist? You have to learn many things. It's good to learn. But learn to be, to is, that isness. Good or bad, happy, unhappy, successful, failure, those things come later. But this isness, this is primary. Where did you learn it? Do you need to learn it? How much effort does it take to exist? These are very high teachings of non-dualism, usually given only to monks. All that is born of effort is Maya. It will come and go. Not important. You will say, what are you saying, Swami? All the great achievements of civilization, of business and industry and science and art, all of that, not important. They are important only, their importance lies in only one thing, really, ultimately, to lead you to awakening. To lead us all. All the great achievements, they have an importance, they have a place, They have a place only ultimately in the ultimate analysis. Everything that's done in the name of civilization, in commerce, in war, in science, in love and hate, all of these experiences, they are all Maya. Why? They come and go. They are born and they die. They are subject to causation, cause and effect. They are Maya. I wouldn't go so far as that, but the Christian would say they are the work of the devil. In one sense, when you get trapped in them, they're truly the work of the devil. But they have a role to play. They lead us to enlightenment. That's the real purpose of that. The real purpose of life is not to get rich, is not to get a PhD, is not to be famous, or not even to suffer and be miserable. No, the real purpose is to gain experience and knowledge. Knowledge means knowledge of the reality of yourself. Swami Vivekananda said the purpose of all work is not enjoyment, it is knowledge, it is experience, it's knowledge. The Gita, Sri Krishna says, Sarvam karma khilam partha jnane parisamapyate. All the things that we do in life, the only thing that remains over, the thing which we carry away from this life is knowledge. Nothing else. No people, no money, no achievements, not even the secular knowledge that we actually read and gain. It's just the intuitive realization that we carry away from this. So, yes, the song says it all actually. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Now these techniques of meditation which we are doing in non-dual Vedanta, these are actually not techniques. By now we have begun to understand the yogic techniques, yama, niyama, all those things, they are practices, they are techniques, they are multiple techniques and practices, they are things to be done. Then what are the Advaitic, the non-dual meditations, what are they actually? They are not techniques. They are mirrors. They are mirrors in which we see the infinite. When we look into a mirror, we see our own face. In these mirrors, these 15 mirrors, when we look into it, we see the infinite. These are the mirrors of Brahman. So we have seen some of them, and we shall go on further. What are the 15? Yama, niyama, tyaga, maunam, or let me give the English. Yama and niyama, the moral practices and disciplines. Tyaga, renunciation. Maunam, silence. Desha, time. Desha is space. Kala is time. Asanam is sitting. Mula bandha, the locks, the yogic locks. Deha samyam, posture of the body. Driksthiti, where do you keep your eyes? Prana sangyamanam, pranayama, control of the breath. Pratyahara, withdrawal from the world outside. Dharana, focus. Dhyana, meditation. And Samadhi. So, 8 of these are directly taken from the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali. The others are taken from various aspects of Hatha Yoga, or in general, the ascetic life. So last time we saw Yama, Niyama, Tyaga. Silence is another practice. The yogic meaning of silence, maunam, is not talking. A lot of energy is wasted in talk. And a lot of our talk is basically useless. It's a compulsive habit to talk. And nowadays it's not just physical talking. Less people are talking physically, but it's a lot of presence on social media and things like that, and texting away all the time. So that is an enormous waste of energy. And one practice is in yoga is to not to talk for specific periods of time. Not forever. There are people who do not talk forever. They take a vow. Trappist monks, for example, they used to do that. More or less not to talk at all. But for specific periods of time, to conserve energy, to calm down the mind. Talking really agitates the mind. It externalizes us. And it's very damaging for the meditators. So there are people who practice, say, maybe once in a week they don't talk. Swami Ranganathananda ji used to keep silent, I've heard, one day per week. Mondays?
He used to do it on
Oh,
Mondays.
you used to do it on
in
Mondays.
San Diego.
Yes. So Mahatma Gandhi, once a week, 1 day a week, he would not talk. So that is a very good practice. It can be carried to extremes. There are, like any practice, that leads to suppression. I remember a monk who was under a vow of silence, but it was sort of forced. I realized that one day I was in the same room, we were sharing the room. I was a newcomer, a novice, and it was very new for me to see a monk who doesn't speak. He would speak with gestures. So at night we fell asleep. He was in the bed there on the other side of the room, and as I went off to sleep, and then suddenly I woke up to hear him. He talked throughout the night in his sleep. And next day in the morning, I said, Swami, you were talking in your sleep. And he goes, who, me? No, it's complete denial. It's not possible. How can I talk in the sleep? But it's repression. The mind actually, it talks. It's not the tongue so much. The mind chatters away. And if you force it not to express, after a few days, an enormous pressure builds up. And that's what comes out. But you can do it. People do it for years. I know another monk who was under a vow of silence for 10 years, I think. For nearly 10 years he didn't speak, except through sign language and maybe sometimes through written communication, did not speak. Then finally he decided to end his vow of silence. And boy, did he speak after that. Not spiritual edifying stuff, but general chatter. And he went on a tour of the different ashrams in our in India, and then it was a terror. He's coming. You wanted to be out of the way before. If he catches you, you're done for. But that's repression. It's a good practice, but not too much. So what is the rule? A good rule is, in Sanskrit they have a saying, mitam cha hitam cha, satyam cha mitam cha hitam cha. What does it mean? Satyam means truthful. Say what is truthful. So there's a filter there. Am I being precise and truthful? Speak less, mitam, the minimum, a minimalistic approach to speech. And then hitam, is it beneficial? Is it beneficial? Does it do any good to anybody to say these things? People say, no, the brutal truth. I am fond of the brutal truth. I'm a straight talker. Mark Twain put it very beautifully. He said, I've often seen that people who claim to be fond of the brutal truth, they're fond more of the brutality than the truth. Mark Twain. So truthful, minimal. Also, it should be gentle and sweet. As far as possible, be gentle and be sweet. But honest. And finally, beneficial. This is a good rule. So that is the practice of silence in yoga. But what is the practice of silence in Vedanta? So in Advaita Vedanta, Shankaracharya says, verses 108 and 9. Vacho yasman nivartante tadvaktum ke na shakyate prapancho yadi vaktavya sopi shabda vivarjitaha iti va tadbhavet maunam satam sahaja sangitam gira maunam tu balanam prayuktam brahmavadibhi. So he says, what will you speak about? You want to speak about the ultimate reality that is beyond speech. Brahman is beyond speech. One of the ways we talk about Brahman is that it is beyond thought and beyond speech. Avang manasa gochara. Why is Brahman beyond speech?
Because there's no other.
Limits of language.
The limits of language, yes. I have a talk, if you're interested, I'm not going to talk about that now, which deals with this. I think Advaita Vedanta and the Paradox of Language. I think there's a talk on YouTube which deals with this. And Shankaracharya, in his commentary on the Mandukya Upanishad. In the Mandukya Upanishad, the 7th mantra uses a term for the ultimate reality, Avyapadeshyam, which names cannot be applied to it, beyond names. And then Shankaracharya explaining that shows what can language do and what can it not do. What can it do and what can it not do? I'm not going to talk about that, but he shows very clearly this is how language works. This is how language works, and it does not work on Brahman. Why it does not work on Brahman is the ultimate reality. There's a word in English, ineffable. Ineffable means it cannot be expressed linguistically. I remember Wittgenstein, in his Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, he says, the limits of the world are the limits of language. The limits of language are the limits of the world. The limits of language are the limits of the world. So whatever is in the world can be expressed by language. That which lies beyond, and he goes on to say, that which lies beyond we must pass over in silence. Wittgenstein says that. And he's not referring to Maya or Brahman, but it's very apt what he says. So Brahman cannot be expressed in language. Just by the way, it might occur to us, if Brahman cannot be expressed in language, what were you doing in the last 4 days? You're talking. And what are these books? They're language. So you're talking, that's language. These books are language. So if Brahman cannot be expressed in language, what are these books doing? So Vedanta finds extraordinary strategies to work around this problem. The problem of expressing the inexpressible. So Vedanta finds strategies. You might, if you are wondering how can it be done, there are ways. For example, if I cannot speak about it, if I cannot say what it is, I can at least say what it is not. Neti neti. So I can deny, I can name the things it is not and talk about that. It is not that. I can use the method of paradox. I can use the method of contradiction. Further than the furthest, nearer than the nearest. So the Vedanta uses various strategies. But you cannot directly speak about the ultimate reality. Whatever you say about it is actually not true. You can indicate it. One of the ways is indication, implication, the finger pointing at the moon. So notice in all this which we are listening to, all the words, the ultimate reality remains elusive beyond the grasp. One has to catch it intuitively. Follow the pointing, but after that, finger pointing at the moon, you can go up to this, and from there to that is a jump which you have to take yourself. The 10th man, 9 can be counted. After that, this turning is a jump which you have to take yourself. So, you cannot directly speak about Brahman. That is silence. And then he says, Prapancho yadi vaktavya. Do you want to speak about the world? That also you cannot speak about. Why? Because in Vedanta the world is Maya, and one of the characteristics of Maya is sadasad-bhyam anirvachaniyam. It cannot be said to be existing, it cannot be said to be non-existing. It cannot be said to be existing because it is not real like Brahman. When you investigate it, it disappears. It cannot be said to be non-existent because we experience it. We are experiencing it. We are in the midst of it. Like a dream. Is a dream real? No. Is it absolutely nothing? No, not even that, because we did see it. So, prapancha, the universe, is also, you cannot say anything true about it. Now that sounds very strange, but really, deeply if you investigate it, I was in the Bahamas before I came here, and the speaker who was coming after me, Marcus du Sautoy, he is an eminent mathematician from Oxford University. He occupies the same post that Richard Dawkins occupied earlier, a public position for the popularization of science, in addition to their own academic pursuits. You've heard of Richard Dawkins, who's a militant atheist, absolutely against religion. So Marcus was telling me that he has taken a different approach. He said instead of criticizing and condemning religion all the time, let's have a dialogue with religion, with spirituality. We will learn, and we will also convey the scientific attitude, scientific approach to spiritual practitioners. So he's reaching out to spiritual communities. That's why he was there in the Sivananda Yoga Ashram. I think he's giving the talks now. Now, why I mentioned him is the subject of his talk, from a scientific point of view, about this universe. The subject of his talk is what we cannot know. What we cannot know. I remember the greatest mathematician or logician of the 20th century, Kurt Gödel, who was in Princeton, near New York. There's this Princeton University Institute of Advanced Studies, IAS. He was there with Einstein and all. So there's a book about him, about the life of Kurt Gödel, written by Rebecca Goldstein. And in the introduction, she writes, notice the greatest discoveries of science in the 20th century, the greatest theories which were discovered or formulated. Einstein's theory of relativity. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And Kurt Gödel's theorem of incompleteness. So notice the terms: relativity, uncertainty, incompleteness. And she says, if you had asked a scientist in the 19th century, where science was progressing without any seems to be no limit to it, if you had asked what would be the great discoveries in the future, near future, they wouldn't have said incompleteness, inconsistency and relativity. They would have said absoluteness, completeness and certainty. We are expecting that. Didn't happen. And in each different field, in the most fundamental of fields, mathematics and physics, pure mathematics and physics, you see this incompleteness, inconsistency, relativity. And now she doesn't go any further, but the moment I read this is the nature of Maya. This is the very nature of Maya. If you investigate anything deeply, any field, biology, if you I forget his name, he writes, he's one of the greatest biologists of the 20th century, he writes, as I investigate life, from the living body to the living organs, to the tissues, to the cells, to the subcellular structures, I find at one point life has slipped out of my finger. At which point did it stop becoming living? When I investigate upwards from non-living to the living, from particles to upwards, at which point did life suddenly appear? So it's a kind of paradoxical. Whichever field, physics or especially the fundamental fields like mathematics, logic, physics. There's one John Barrows, I think he's a mathematician or a physicist. He's written a book called Impossibility. And he shows in each field, as those fields have advanced far enough towards the end of the 20th century, we came up across paradoxes in each field. Especially physics, mathematics. So, prapancho yadi vaktavya sopi shabda vivarjita. If you're going to talk about the universe, the reality of the universe lies beyond language. You can't express it. Even in the most precise mathematical language, you cannot really express it. You'll only express paradoxes at the most fundamental level. So what will you speak about? Can't speak about Brahman, you cannot speak about samsara. That is silence. Better he says, sahaja sangitam. This is natural silence. Deep inside you know, you're not really speaking about the reality. Of course, day to day, vyavahara, at the level of transaction, you should speak. I heard about a great monk. I didn't meet him. There are these Mauni Babas who are silent monks. So they practice the vow of silence, sometimes with disastrous results, as I mentioned. I heard about one such monk. He is called Mauni Baba, and who was really a talker, who would talk a lot. But he was not being inconsistent. He says his silence is the natural silence. Natural silence means at the fundamental level, he is silence. I think you can both eat your cake and have it too. I'm the silent monk and I can't stop talking. On a more funny level, I remember attending this, even monks have conferences. In our order we have conferences. In the high Himalaya too, they have conferences with the issues pertaining to monastic life. So they come out of their huts and caves and they gather together. Depending on who throws his cave open for the latest meeting. So I attended a couple of such meetings. In one of the meetings, one of the monks this was in Gangotri in the high Himalayas. So there are very few monks there, and even the monks who are passing through like me. So we are also invited. If you want to come, you can come. So one of the monks was progressive. He was the secretary of the monastic association in. So he said, meetings like this should be recorded, so that we should have minutes. Now who will take the minutes? So one of the monks was a Mauni Baba, a silent monk. So since you're not going to speak anyway, you take the minutes. So he gave his assent. Now the funny thing was, the way he would ask for information, the people are giving their views on each subject and he's writing it down, he would do like this. Meaning, repeat. What did you say? Just say, I'm writing it down. And he did it so many times that the secretary got exasperated. The monk got exasperated and he said, you are a Mauni, a silent one. And this is what you do. If you spoke, I don't know what you would have done. In Hindi, he said, "Tu Mauni hoke ye karta hai, bolta to kya karta hai?" You are a Mauni, a silent one, and this is what you do. So this is the silence of the knower of Brahman, who knows that Brahman is silence itself. Doesn't matter if you speak or do not speak at the level of speech. And also, the nature of this word is a mystery which is forever beyond speech. This is real silence. He says, Sahaja Sangeetam. This is natural silence. It has nothing to do with... You see, silence is of two types. One is silence which is opposed to noise. I am speaking now, and now I am silent. You see the difference? This is silence opposed to noise. Whereas there is a silence which underlies this. Some of us, we are lucky enough, those who have felt it, you know. That silence exists even when there is noise. I experienced it once. Mayavati is an extraordinary place. Swami lived there. It's not all that high up in the Himalayas. It's about 5,000 feet. 6,000 feet. 6,000 feet. And it's not the high Himalayas of the Kumaon range, you know, or the Garhwal range. It's not the high Himalayas with 10,000, 20,000 feet, real giants. Not like that. And yet, something to do with the acoustics of that valley, it has the most extraordinary silence. Most extraordinary silence. I don't know where. I have seen some very desolate spaces, and they have silence, but not like this. This is a metaphysical silence. The only way I can... Extraordinary. Now, I bathed in that silence when I was there for some time. And then time came for me to go back to the plains. So we go take a train and then go to this big city called Lucknow, one of the noisiest places you can think about. Now the deep silence was there, and I came to the city, and that silence was lost. There was noise, and I was going in a rickshaw in a busy city intersection in Lucknow on the way to the ashram. I was going, sitting in a rickshaw in a city intersection in Lucknow, and just for a split second, I felt that deep silence of Mayavati underneath that. It's gone after some time again. But I've heard of the monks who spend years in Mayavati, the silence never really leaves them. That's the silence of Brahman. That's the deepest. That is Brahman itself. Or at least it points to Brahman itself. And then I told you, Shankaracharya is a little mischievous. So he says, what about the yogic silence, the vow of silence, not speaking? Gira maunam to balanam. That's for children. He says, the silence of speech is for balanam, is for kids. It's like the children, when you go to grade 1 or 2, and they're all screaming and shouting, and then you say, quiet, shh, and they go, shh. That's what you need to do to the body-mind complex before. Just quieten down. Stop. That's the very preliminary. Then I'm going to skip ahead some other practices. For example, posture. The yoga teacher will teach you how to sit straight for meditation. Straight is not rigid because the spine has its natural curvature. So you have to adapt to that. But there is a great gain in having your head and chest and waist aligned. So then you can see. You sit like that and try to think noble thoughts, you can't. Sit like this and try to be miserable, you can't. You can't. Swami Vivekananda, it is said of him, his eyes would never go down below this level. You look up. And who named him Sky Pilot? I think
Oh, that was in California.
in California. Somebody called him the Sky Pilot.
A train conductor.
A train conductor, the Sky Pilot. His eyes were always the sign of a noble, of a great thinker. One of the vows we take in monastic life is Brihad Vadema. From now on, we shall dwell on high and noble things. Not petty things, not little things, not miserable things. The great and high things that we shall keep ourselves immersed. I was reading Swami Turiyanandaji in his conversations. He says, simple point. The one who can stay with high and noble thoughts, that one alone will be saved. যে উচ্চ চিন্তা করতে পারে সেই বাঁচবে. So this posture of the body. What is posture of the body according to Vedanta? This is 115. Anganam samatam vidyat same brahmani linatam noched naiva samanatvam rijutvam shushka vrikshavat. He says, what is posture of the body? This alignment. It is to be aligned with Brahman, which is the same everywhere. Straight. That means Brahman is same and straight everywhere. It is evenly, the evenness of posture, evenly available in everywhere, in every circumstance of life, in good and bad, in health and misery, everywhere. Same Brahman is available. And be one with that, linatam, merge into that. That is posture of the body. What about all the instructions, sitting like this and all that? And here comes another occasion for teasing. So he says, otherwise, the instructions you get for sitting properly, he says, what's the point of sitting like a dried tree stump? Shushka vrikshavat. Remember, he is being humorous here, but at the end he will say that all the yogic practices are good and necessary. Before you come on to all these. Then, drishti, where do you keep your eyes? The yogic practice says that either open, there are reasons for each. Open eyes, closed eyes fixed on the tip of the nose, eyes fixed at the gaze downwards. All of them are meant for stabilizing the mind, depending on what kind of problem is there in the mind. So it's a whole thing. And fixing the gaze, there is a whole branch of yoga, Hatha yoga called Trataka, which is very good for the eyes. But it has to be learned from an expert. But that's the yogic practice. What is the Advaita? Now you're beginning to get the hang of it. You'll say it must be Brahman. You are right. 116. What is keeping the vision? What is Advaitic non-dual vision? Drishtim jnanamayim kritva pashyed brahmamayam jagat sadrishti paramodara nanasagravalokini. He says, make your vision the vision of knowledge. And with this vision of knowledge, see Brahman in the entire universe. Whatever you see is Brahman. How do you know? How do you do that? It's like if you go to the jewelry store and somebody says, oh, that's a necklace, that's a bracelet, that's a tiara. And if you have your drishti, your vision is, you go to the gold, the material itself, you'll say, that's gold, that's gold, that's gold, that's gold. You say, matter of perspective. No. The one who says gold is looking at the reality. The one who says tiara and necklace and bracelet, are they not looking at reality? No. They are looking at name and form and function. Why? You seem to be prejudiced in favor of gold and not in favor of the jewel. Because the gold can exist without it being a necklace or a tiara. Gold can be a bracelet. It can be a lump of gold. It can be a brick of gold. But the tiara or the necklace or the bracelet cannot exist without the gold. Do you remember we went through superimposition, desuperimposition, the clay and pot example? If you examine the tiara or the necklace or the bracelet, what will you find? Which part of the tiara is gold? All of it. Gold is not a component of the necklace. Gold is not a property of the necklace. Necklace can be called a property of gold. Even that is not correct, but it's a superimposition. In technical terms, it's an adhyasa, it's a name and form. By the way, I discovered this, we keep saying superimposition, that's the translation of the Sanskrit adhyasa. In modern philosophy, they have a term, supervenience. And it means exactly the same as superimposition. I discovered it, they have sort of invented it recently, supervenience. Supervenience, like convenience, supervenience. Taking one thing for the other. So, gold is the reality. And if your drishti, your vision is on the gold, you are looking at the reality. Of course, you notice that a tiara is a tiara and a necklace is a necklace. You notice the difference in name, you notice the difference in form, you notice the difference in function. A tiara is put here, the necklace is put here. You know all that. Becoming an enlightened person doesn't mean that you become confused about the world. No. You see the world as well as any other person, but you see the deeper reality too, which the other person does not. And that saves you. So that is the vision of non-duality. Drishtim jnanamayim kritva. Have the vision of, that's the meaning of the third eye. To see the reality in and everything. You are looking at the same world. You are listening to the same words. You are having the same sensory experience as the other person. But you notice the reality in everything. The devotee will say, I notice my Gopala, my Krishna, my beloved Kali in everything. Sri Ramakrishna would say, the Divine Mother has become everything. It's the same thing. This is called the vision of the non-duality. This is non-dual vision. But what about the other one? He says, this is real, this is sadrishti paramodara. This is the real universal vision. And then, of course, the twist in the tail, he says, not staring at the tip of your nose. Na nasa agravalokini. So he has this humor going on here. I'm just jumping ahead. Pranayama, yes. Breathing in and breathing out. So the yogic pranayama, as you have heard, and there's a whole science to it. It's a lot of investigation has been done, and it really works. But you, as was said, you need to learn it from a teacher. Don't try it on your own. At least not the ones which include holding the breath. The rhythmic breathing, deep breathing, everybody can practice to their benefit. I read somewhere, Iyengar, B.K. Iyengar, he said, when he started teaching here in the United States, people would say, what, we're going to learn to breathe. We are breathing. And he says, I discovered people in the West are hardly breathing. Because of tension, because of the particular clothing, they have slowly developed bad habits of breathing. So they're shallow chest breathing. The diaphragmatic breathing seems to have gone out, has been lost. So he had to teach again. Now there are pranayama techniques, and they're used for calming the mind, useful for meditation. So the basic technique goes something like this. There is inhalation, rechaka, puraka. There is holding the breath, kumbhaka. And there is exhalation, rechaka. It goes like this. It's this in ratio. So you breathe in, you close this nostril this way. I'm not teaching you. Don't try it. I'm not teaching that. I'm saying this for a purpose because it will become clear later. So when you breathe in, you close this nostril, count of 4. 4 means mentally you can do that. Om, 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 om. Don't say it out aloud. Do it mentally. 4. 4 ohms breathing in. Close. Hold it for 16 ohms. And then you let go from the other nostril for 8 ohms. So this ratio, 4, 16, 8. This is the basic one. And then you expand beyond that. You can in multiples. This is not one, this is half a pranayama. Then again you breathe in for 4 ohms from this one, hold for 16 and release for 8. Then it completes one pranayama. So this is pranayama. Now what does Shankaracharya say? Non-dual pranayama. Nishedhanam prapanchasya. This is verse number 119-20. Nishedhanam prapanchasya rechakakhya samiranaha brahmaivasmiti yavritti purako vayuririta tatastadvritti naischalyam kumbhaka prana sanyamaha ayam chapi prabuddhanam ajnanam grana pidanam. So he says, what is non-dual pranayama? Control of the breath, non-dual control of the breath. Here you start with breathing out. What is breathing out? World is an appearance. Jagat mithya. Samsara is an appearance. It's a dream, an illusion. That is, you breathe out the universe. You breathe out the universe. And then breathe in. What is breathe in? The clarity that I am Brahman. That isness right now, I am. That much. I amness, that I am Brahman. This being. Breathe it in. I am Brahman. Then what is holding the breath? Stay there. I am Brahman. What is releasing the breath? The world is an appearance. Samsara is an appearance. What is breathing in? I am Brahman. What is holding the breath? Stay there. I am Brahman. As long as comfortable. So you do it this way. You breathe out. The world is an appearance. Jagat mithya. Breathe in. Aham brahmasmi. You don't have to say it. The clarity. Aham brahmasmi. Not the words. That's why you notice that the Shravana Manana which has gone on before, the hearing and the reflection, that is important. If that has not been done, if I simply start saying world is false, I am Brahman, it's a mantra, it's like a mantra, it's not Vedanta. The clarity that I am Brahman, breathing in, hold the breath, I am Brahman, stay there. The moment any thought of the world comes, breathe out. The world is an appearance. Now next what you will do is, disconnect it with the breathing. Let the breathing go on. It has really nothing to do with the breathing. World is an appearance. I withdraw into being, consciousness, bliss. I am that. Stay there. Anytime anything of the world, any thought or sensation of the world comes, I note that it is an appearance. It's a dream, an illusion. This is Vedantic, non-dual pranayama. Non-dual pranayama. You know, it's very interesting that it's not just theoretical. It really happens. I heard it from a Swami who told me that Swami Shraddhananda, who was here in Sacramento, he had seen this. He was Swami Shraddhananda when he was in Belur Math in India. Swami Subodhananda, who was a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, he was called Khoka Maharaj. Khoka means little boy. So he was as simple as a little child. He used to sit on the veranda next to Swami Vivekananda's room, in the upstairs veranda in overlooking the Ganga in Belur Math. On the other side is the city of Calcutta. On this side is the monastery. The river Ganga is in between. Now Swami Subodhananda used to sit on the veranda there and study. So Swami Shraddhananda saw that Swami Subodhananda is sitting there and reading something. He is reading and looking up and laughing. And then again he reads and he looks up and he bursts out laughing. So he couldn't restrain his curiosity anymore. He went up and asked the Swami, Swami, I have a question. What is it? What are you reading? And what are you seeing? And why are you laughing? So he says, you know, this book, it's a Vedanta book. He says, this book, it says, Jagat Mithya, the world is an appearance. It's Maya. I read that. And I look up and I see Calcutta and all this, I see there are heaps of ashes. That's a word he used, chai dipi. Heaps of ashes means there's nothing in this. It's valueless completely. And I burst out laughing. And then I look again. It says Brahma Satyam, Brahman alone is real. And I look up and I see everything, the same thing. I see everything is Sri Ramakrishna. And I burst out laughing. It's true. You can see the same thing as the world and Maya. And as reality, it is Brahman, your own reality. It's exactly the non-dual pranayama which is talked about here. What about the other one we just learned? You see this? Now you see why I taught you this. He says, that one, that's just torturing your nose. Grana Pidanam. See, this is the real pranayama, and the other one, that's just twisting your nose. I've seen here sometimes parents, when they're playing with little babies, they do that. Then I got your nose, gotcha, like this. Then I think we have run out of time, right?
You have 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay. Let's Dharana and dhyana. What is the difference? So, pratyahara. How do you withdraw from the world? The yogic way we learned how it's the techniques are there. How do you withdraw the senses from the world before in preparation for meditation? Notice here, all these 15 meditations, they are not in sequence. Any one of them you take up, it will take you straight to enlightenment. It's a way of abiding in Brahman. It's not a technique. It's not even a practice. Each one is a way of abiding in Brahman. Each one is a mirror of Brahman. You see the infinite in that. So, pratyahara, withdrawal. In yogic way, we withdraw the senses, stay with the mind. And Swami told us a very valuable clue that the practice of mindfulness itself is pratyahara, withdrawal from the world. But here Shankaracharya, for non-dual sense, Vishayeshvatmatam drishtva manarshchiti majjanam pratyahara savigneyo abhyasaniyo mumukshubhi. By the way, each of them it's not exactly the same. Each has a different angle to it. Each mirror is placed at a different angle. So there is a way of doing each one. Like I showed you a way of doing pranayama. They all lead to the same reality, but there are different ways of doing. So what does this say? Pratyahara, withdrawal. Yogic pratyahara is the eyes must not see, the ears must not hear. That means you stay with the mind instead of the mind going out through the sense organs into their objects. Here he says, go out into the objects. Go out to the objects. See, hear, smell, taste, touch. To your heart's content and discontent. But what do you do there? He says, Atmatam drishtva. Everywhere you go, you find the same Brahman. How? This is a board. No, it is not. It is isness with the name and form of a board. True or not? It is consciousness. How? Consciousness not here. It is appearing to you, the consciousness. Whatever you experience in life, a person, an event, a sensation, it's in your consciousness. And it can point you back effectively to your consciousness. If you do that, what he says, manasa chiti majjanam, you are drowning the mind in consciousness. You are dunking the mind in consciousness. The mind bobs up, push it under again. This is pratyahara. Make no effort to withdraw from the world. It will happen in an instant. When you see the world, anything in the world, a person, a thing, and use it immediately, it's appearing in consciousness. It is nothing other than being. I am that being consciousness. Done. Whatever the mind thinks of, mind doesn't think of anything, it's dull. The dullness appears to consciousness. Isness. That awareness, isness, I am. Back. Instantaneously back. And the mind is being dunked, driven deep into chiti majjanam, dunked, soaked, drowned in awareness. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Then, what about focus? You pick up an object of focus, my Krishna or my Kali or Om or a dot or light, and then concentrate again and again. That is yogic focus. So that means you have to take your mind away from all other objects and bring it to that. I'm concentrating on Shiva and the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. If it goes anywhere else, bring it back. Anywhere else, bring it back. That is called dharana, focus in yoga. What is focus in Advaita? I think by now you will have got an inkling of what he's going to do. It must be Brahman again. So he says, very beautiful. Yatra yatra mano yati brahmanas tatra darshanat manaso dharanam chaiva dharana sa paramata. This is the sublime, the highest transcendental focus. What is that? Yatra yatra mano yati. You don't have to bring your mind back from anything. Wherever the mind goes, you notice Brahman is there. Just notice the isness there. If it has gone somewhere, it must exist. Notice the isness. Whichever jewel your mind goes to, whichever ornament your eyes go to, notice the gold there. Whichever wave your eyes are attracted to, notice the water there. That's all you have to do. Similarly, whichever person, thing, good, bad, your senses they move to, notice Brahman there. That is called dharana, that is focus. Now, as you see Brahman everywhere, this focus deepens into a natural experience of Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat. The entire experience of the universe is soaked, pervaded. This soaking is actually, Sri Ramakrishna says, that he sees just as in the monsoon season in India, the trees and creepers and plants are all dripping with water, they're soaked in water. I see everything in this universe as if soaked in consciousness and awareness. He says that. So, verse number 123. Brahmaivasmiti sadvritya niralambataya stitihi dhyana shabdena vikhyata paramanandadayini. This vritti, I am Brahman, to stay there without support, this is meditation. There is a very subtle point involved here. Haven't you been saying all throughout, I am Brahman and stay there? That meditation we just did, that pranayama we just did now, I am Brahman and stay there. So if that is pranayama, why are you again saying that I am Brahman and stay there is dhyana, meditation? But there's a subtle difference. There we used a support. Breath was used as a support. Or my mind goes somewhere and that one reminds me of Brahman. And I come back to the isness. Now, having come back to the isness awareness, I drop the support. I drop the chitta vritti, the support, which reminded me. It's like taking the container, the essence and dropping the container. I stay there as Brahman without any needing to remind me. It's like looking at the mirror, pointing back to yourself and letting go of the mirror. My objective is to become aware of my real face. The problem is I cannot see my real face directly. Only you have the pleasure. I cannot see my real face directly. I need a mirror. Now once I see it, it goes like this. Once I see the mirror, I see the reflection of my face in the mirror. Having seen the reflection of my face in the mirror, this is important. From there, I trace back an awareness here to this. Once I become aware of it, I still can't see it. I can't objectify it. And once I become aware of this, I can drop the mirror. This is the stage of dhyana, meditation. Use any of the preceding techniques to become aware of the isness awareness and then drop that. Stay there. When you can naturally stay there, what happens? 124. Nirvikarataya vritya brahmakarataya punaha vritti vismaranam samyak samadhi dhyana sangyaka. So the complete forgetfulness of the mirror itself, the containing vritti, staying as Brahman, which you always are. You realize that you always are Brahman. You always realize that silence always underlies noise and absence of noise. That Brahman always is. When that becomes clear, that is Samadhi. That is Samadhi. I am Brahman irrevocably, helplessly. Always was, always will be. It's done. Then he says, how long do you have to keep on doing these practices? I think somebody asked yesterday, Anu asked yesterday. So verses 125, 26 are interesting. I'll just chant them, you will understand. I'll end with that. Imam chakritrimanandam tavat sadhu samabhyaset vashyo yavat shanat pungsa prayukta san bhavet swayam. Carefully practice this systematically, continuously, these 15 methods or 15 approaches, 15 mirrors. After all, they are showing you your own face. What is nicer? And until it becomes spontaneous. This extraordinary bliss, the original bliss, akritrimananda. Everything that we enjoy in the world is a produced artificial bliss. That original bliss, the source of all happiness. Shankaracharya says, there is an ocean of bliss within each of us. The spray of which, little spray of which, the beings of the world run madly after. And if the entire ocean is within you, means it is you actually. But you have to learn to recognize that. Once that becomes spontaneous, and he says, is available, kshanat, at a moment's notice. Not that you're always thinking, I am Brahman, I am blissful, I am Brahman. No. Just as I said to Anu, you are not always practicing, I am Anu, I am Anu, I am Anu. No. But it's instantly available. What's your name? Anu. Instantly available. Little problem comes in the world, I am Brahman. What is the problem? One monk put it very nicely. The transition will be from what to so what. First, when the world hits us with a problem, what? And after this, so what? Very nicely put. What to so what? Then what do you do? Tata sadhana nirmukta siddho bhavati yogirat tatswarupam na chaitasya vishayo manaso giram. Then this king of yogis, this non-dualist enlightened person, Jivan Mukta, sadhana nirmukta, goes beyond practices. You may do, you may not do. Doesn't matter. You go beyond practices. Tat Swarupam, the nature of that yogi, what that yogi really is. Externally still the same person. But internally what that yogi really is, the reality there is beyond mind, beyond speech. Thank you very much.